So basically, this in-person event will not be possible if not for our sponsor and partner, Microsoft Philippines. So we're very grateful, and yeah, so please welcome me and please join me in welcoming Ziljan right here to give us a few words before we start our program. Okay, Z.
All right, thanks everyone for coming in and welcome to the office of Microsoft Philippines. For the first few minutes, just allow me to share some of the few insights that we've learned all throughout being in lockdown for the 2 years in the pandemic. So I think it's not just me when we say that for the last 2 years, it has been the most challenging aspects in our lifetime. So I think we face two things right there. So we face a global economic crisis, and at the same time, we have to go through the pandemic, which has hindered us in most of our productivity. And when you think of it, it has paved the way on digitization for the last 2 years. And with its accelerating pace, it has changed the new requirements of both the students and the employers need in their skill set in order for them to succeed in their current jobs or even with the tasks that they are going to face once you guys enters in the workforce. And it has been imperative for Microsoft to give an emphasis with regards to skilling. And it's because of three key things. One is it demands the focus on growing your internal skills and capabilities. So if you think about it, 5 years ago, there are no data analysts. BI is not a thing. And right now, it's all over the place. We have been positioned in a way to rethink on how we're going to upskill those incoming generation of workers and making sure that they are well equipped on what they're going to face in their future jobs. And the second point is that it positions IT professionals as a change agent. And this, even without the presentation itself, IT is seen as the change catalyst nowadays in our field. And of course, with that, IT professionals are seen as both the ones that support the current and, of course, the emerging technologies as well. And last but not the least, it creates the new requirements for your organization. So I think we have more than students in our session right now. So once you enter the workforce, the expectations are really high. And of course, the skill sets that we have now will be more expounded once we have entered into the corporate setup. So we want to make sure that everyone is well equipped as they venture into their new roles and set of capabilities. And that's why everyone has been looking up to Microsoft and with regards to skilling. And one of those channels is, of course, our Microsoft Virtual Training Days. So these are our 2 days virtual events that caters to all technological solutions that Microsoft has to offer on the table. So coming in from Azure, Dynamics, Office 365, we have trainings available. All you have to do is just to scan the QR code right there. And with this, of course, there are also different channels that Microsoft acknowledges. Let's say, for example, if you are a self-paced learner, we have Microsoft Learn, which is a multi-channel learning platform wherein you can learn at your own pace. And if you want to keep updated, we have Microsoft Source Newsletter and the rest as well. And let me just conclude my remarks for today with an upcoming big event that we'll be having on May 23 to 25. It's Microsoft Build. It's an event for all of our developers where we share our most recent updates that is intended for you guys. So please feel free to join our our cloud skills challenge, which will happen as well during Microsoft Build, wherein we'll be offering free certifications for participating individuals for the cloud skills challenge. So all you have to do is to register with aka.ms/build and scan a QR code for our cloud skills challenge. So that's it. I hope you guys have an insightful evening and thank you for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Zildjian. Okay, so again, thank you so much for Microsoft for supporting us in this event. And now we're very excited to kick off the program for today. So, which leads me to our first speaker. I'm very honored to introduce him to you today. So, his name is Pio Balistoy. He's a Filipino Microsoft MVP for Data Platform. He has been working with databases since 2003, so that's 20 years. Wow. And has worked with all versions of SQL, so from SQL Server 6.5 to Azure SQL. And he is currently a lead data platform consultant for Pythian, helping businesses transform using data, analytics, and cloud. He is also part of the Microsoft Azure Data Advisory Board that helps Microsoft understand the needs of Azure data community. So that's really amazing. And he is now based in Singapore, but he actively leads the data platform communities both in Singapore and in the Philippines. So you can find him often helping organize or speaking at user group communities. So that's exactly why he's here. So please join me in welcoming Pio Balistoy.
Hello, welcome everyone. If you guys want to move forward, it's fine because we have a lot of seats here, so it's okay. Uh, Let me just read. Okay, while we're waiting for the projector to work, I would just like to know the makeup of the group. Are all you guys students? Students, and then professional. You're working professional. Have you guys used Azure SQL before? Not yet. SQL Server, databases. Are you guys familiar with databases? All right, then good. Sige, sige. Saan yung information? Pag nag-join na tayo dun sa meeting. Ah, ah, ano din ako. All right. So sorry about that. We're just figuring out the projector. So let me just mute my. All right, there you go. One more time. Okay. So yeah, so welcome everyone. Welcome to Global Azure Bootcamp. So my topic for today is Azure Powered SQL Server 22. If you notice, I changed the title. I think from the original one, it's supposed to be Azure Connected SQL Server 2022 because I was planning to talk mainly about SQL Server and how it is connected to Azure. But since this is an Azure bootcamp, I decided to change it a bit. Uh, we'll still gonna talk about SQL Server, but we're gonna talk about the SQL Server family as a whole. Uh, right. So I won't introduce myself because Joanne already introduced me and aged me. So that's correct. I've been working with SQL Server from the very first version, SQL Server 6.0, and up to now, Azure SQL. So I'm a database professional. My whole career is based on data platform. So right now I'm a Microsoft MVP and a Microsoft certified trainer. I used to be on the Azure Data Community Advisory Board. We just re-elected the new officers, so uh, I should update that. And then if you, after this event, if you want to ask anything about databases, if you're curious to learn about SQL Server, Azure SQL, or if you just want to learn about the data platform community, you can find me on the Singapore Data Platform user group or on the Philippine Data Platform forum. So both of those groups have meetups and Facebook groups. If you want to join them, if you're interested about data or interested about technology, you can join. We usually do events like this here and in Singapore. And if you want to connect afterwards, like I said, you can reach me on those social on your board. Uh, so SQL Server 2022, they just released it last year around October, November sa SQL Pass. There's a big conference for data platform community that happens every year on Seattle. That's the SQL Pass Summit. So, tinake advantage ng Microsoft. Hello? Tinake advantage ng Microsoft to introduce the SQL Server 2022 during the summit. So, Rohan introduced it and they had a lot of events to and sessions to introduce the newest features of 2022. So, it's the newest version of SQL Server that is that is more cloud connected. It's not saying that before it's not. Ever since Azure SQL Database was developed, they already unified the code base for Azure SQL and SQL Server. So all the changes in SQL Server, it first comes out on Azure SQL. All the new features, you can find it on Azure SQL Database first. And then on the next version of SQL Server, yung mga features na maganda yung reception, they go to the on-prem version of SQL Server, which is now the latest one is 2022. So the advantage of the newest version, it's more connected to the cloud. Ngayon, pwede ka nang magkaroon ng SQL Server 2022 on-prem and then your failover or your availability group fails over to an Azure SQL managed instance on the cloud. So it's easier to move your data from on-prem to the cloud, easier to create a disaster recovery solution for your environment. Uh, yep. No, it's okay. You can join the conversation. And then, uh, aside from that, now there's a direct link for Azure Synapse. There's a Synapse link for SQL Server 2022. Uh, Synapse yung parang analytics, data warehousing part ng na tool ng Azure on the cloud. So now, it's not just a simple a replication of data to the cloud. They created a new process for the Synapse. There's a Synapse link that have a SQL Server pool that you can, it automatically reads the data on the logs and move it to the cloud so that you can analyze your data easier. Uh, and now there's a Microsoft Purview. If you are familiar with it, it's a tool in Azure to go to for data governance and data discovery. So it makes it easier for you to document your data, create policies for access. Later on, we're gonna discuss more. And then now for 2022, you can have Azure Active Directory authentication. So sa pag nasa on-prem yung database mo or nasa on-prem yung usually you have Active Directory for your authentication, which is your Windows login or your SQL Server login, for example. For the cloud native applications, we usually have Azure Active Directory. So yung login mo for your Azure portal has access to some of your resources. So now for SQL Server 2022, even for on-prem SQL Server, you can now use Azure Active Directory for your authentication. So it's make it easier for you to to manage your security on the cloud and on-prem. And a great part of one of the biggest advantage of hosting your database on the cloud is for me is Microsoft Defender SQL. So now it's available for SQL Server 2022. So those are the main things that make it connected uh, uh, to the cloud. Uh, just to just to let you know, the SQL Server family is very big and you have every version of SQL Server for anywhere. So sa database, may mga iba-ibang requirement tayo. For example, yung mga IoT devices natin or yung mga edge hardwares natin, it requires very small footprint for databases or it cannot be always connected to the cloud. So we do have Azure SQL Edge for those applications. You can use that for those applications. And then SQL Server 22, yun yung enterprise solution natin on-prem. And then the flexibility of SQL Server is now it can run on any OS. So not just on Windows, it can run on Linux, on containers, on Kubernetes. So it's more flexible. So it can adapt to what your environment is. And then Azure Arc, if you are you guys familiar with Azure Arc? No. Azure Arc is a tool in Azure that helps you manage your infrastructure and bring it to your on-prem infrastructure and make it like uh, cloud. The Azure tools are available for you. So parang kang gumagawa ng private cloud mo with Azure tools in your on-prem using Azure Arc. So with Azure Arc and SQL Server 22, you can manage your SQL Server using Azure Arc. And then SQL Server on the cloud, we have different deployment of SQL Server. There are SQL servers on virtual machines, which is similar to your virtual machines on-prem, so full featured SQL servers. And then we have an Azure SQL Managed instance, which is just an instance itself. And then Azure SQL Database, which is uh, database as a service. So we have different flavors of SQL Server for whatever needs you have. Usually yung Azure Cloud natin, yung managed instance and Azure SQL Database, you use that if you don't want to if you want less management and administration tasks. For example, you don't want to be responsible for the server, for setting up your server, your storage. You go to the Azure SQL Cloud versions. So to help you guide, and advantage of SQL Server, uh, we do have different versions of it, different flavors of it, but all the tools you have will work on any of them. And your skills, for example, your T-SQL coding skills, it will work on any of them. because it's the same code base. So the tools that you're using for on-prem, it's the same tools you can use on your cloud deployment or your edge deployment. So it gives you more familiarity with your tools. So to help guide you on choosing, for example, if you're gonna do a project, ano ba yung dapat na version ng SQL Server na gagamitin ko? So here's a quick look on how you can choose or how or, that can help you guide on your choices. So like I mentioned earlier, usually for SQL Edge applications, uh, we use it for IoT applications or for edge devices. If you require smaller footprint or time series capabilities, you use Azure SQL Edge. If you have data platform on premises, of course, you're gonna have SQL Server 2022. You can use it on any OS you want. Or if you want Azure capabilities, you can use Azure Arc with SQL Server. Then you can manage it like an Azure SQL. And then for containers, you can see here the versions that runs on containers. Lift and shift, it's a type of migration when you want to migrate something from your on-prem to the cloud. That means you're lifting the whole application itself. Baga, kinokopya mo yung buong server mo papunta sa cloud kasi you require access to your, yes.
This one is a cloud as a platform store service po yun.
Platform as a service is like, yeah, exactly. SQL Server on Azure SQL VM is a platform as a service. So what that means is, meron kang VM sa cloud. You don't need to manage the data centers. That's the advantage of cloud. Hindi mo na minamage yung data center. Yung kung kailangan mo mag-provision ng storage ng CPU, it's faster. So that's infrastructure. So hindi ikaw yung mag-setup. Ang kailangan mo lang i-manage is yung server itself. So updates ng server, yung mga naka-install servers, mga security na kailangan mong i-configure on the server. And then infrastructure as a service. And then on the other side, we have the database as a service, which is Azure SQL database. That means you only manage the database itself. You don't need to worry about the infrastructure itself. Just give me a database that I can use and I can store data. Then that's it. That's the only thing you manage. It gives you more time and more. You can dedicate your effort on coding and preparing your application. So ito yung pwede yung maging guide. Pagpipili kayo kung saan ipapatakbuhin. And then let's take a look at the capabilities of Azure SQL 2022 that makes it connected to the cloud. First thing to talk about is yung managed instance. I mentioned earlier, now you have the capability to fail over to the cloud. So ito yung sinusolve niyang issue. Mahirap mag-setup and mag-maintain ng DR site. Sa isang enterprise application, you usually have your production site and for business continuity purposes, you need to have a disaster recovery site. So kung gagawin mo yun on your own, you need to set up your data center, the security of your data center, the cabling, everything, the infrastructure, the storage, you need to set it up on your own. So it's challenging and the operating expenses is mataas. So that's what this one is trying to solve. Instead of doing that, you can have a managed instance on the cloud that you can set up as a failover availability group, secondary replica of your existing on-prem SQL Server. So with that, it will help you create the AG itself. Hindi kailangan nasa AG na yung database and yung SQL Server. It will create it for you, even the distributed AG. And then it gives you the capability of disaster recovery using backup and restore. This one is very, very important. before this, there is no way for you to restore a cloud database back to on-prem. Pag halimbawa, dineploy mo siya sa Azure SQL database, walang restore pabalik ng on-prem, even if it's a managed instance. Because of, we'll see in the demo later on. And then, yeah, so to take a look, let me show you this. So we have two servers here. One is my on-prem server, which is the first one, 2002 Restore SQL Server. This one is a on-prem. This one is a managed instance. So I have here a database named World War Wide World Importers as a sample. So what we're going to do is to create an availability group to an instance using SMS. So you just need to do that, and it will check the it will check all the requirements, and it will create y- after that you're gonna choose the database. Wait, let me see. Oop. All right. So here we do that by creating a managed instance link, and then here it will check all the requirements. And then you will choose the database that you want to uh, replicate. Then you will need to sign into the Azure portal and choose the managed instance where to point your data. Once you've done that, you can click next, and then you can see here it will create everything for you. The availability group, the distributed AG, it will provision for you, and then there you go. Click next, and then it will create the AG. So what it will do in the background is restore the database to the cloud and then seed that database so that you can use it. Uh, and if we go back here, you can see the database is already synchronized. The one you're on your on-prem is synchronized. And then you can see here, it created an availability groups for you, both for the AG and the distributed AG. And then you can see here in your managed instance, you have the database already restored. So if we're gonna check on the database itself, the this one, the one on the left is the on-prem. The one on the right is the managed instance. Eh, So you can see here, SQL Server, the one on the right, and then it's read write, and then this is the database version 957. So you can see on the left, this one is read write, and this one is read only. So that's what a DR is. You have a read only replica on Azure for your production database on-prem. So all your production transaction goes to your on-prem database, and then your DR is getting synced on the cloud. So, and this one is a very important factor. You can see the database version now is 957. Same with the database version in the managed instance. If you're familiar with databases, that's a very important point on where you can restore a database. Usually, you can only restore a database to the same or higher version instance. So, for example, like SQL Server 2016, yung databases na galing doon, pwede ko lang siya i-restore sa 2017, 2019, and now 2022. Hindi ko siya pwedeng restore sa mas mababang version sa 2008 or sa 2005. So that's one problem before. Kasi yung sa SQL database, it's always the higher version than the on-prem version. So there's no way for you to restore the database. So now that it's the same version as 2022, you'll be able to restore the backups of the of the database and the managed instance to your on-prem. So just to just to show that the data is syncing, we can we can take a look at this. There's two tables on my database: vehicles and vehicle stock items. So the vehicle is just a table for vehicle type, vehicle registration, and then the vehicle stock items are the items inside the vehicles. So this one is on the on-prem. It will insert data on the table, and if your application, if it's a replica, it should directly go to your to your disaster recovery side, which is the managed instance. So when we go to the managed instance, you can see here, this is the managed instance. So when we do the select, the data should be there. So that's what managed instance replica is. It's a managed instance link. So how about the disaster recovery? So when you have a DR, we can we can initiate a failover. You saw on the previous panel, there's a manual failover and a forced failover. Manual failover, it gives you a chance to make sure that everything is synchronized. A forced failover is, for example, if there's really a disaster and your on-prem is not available, when you force a failover, it will just force your uh, connections to use now the what's available for your replica as the read write. When we do force failover, there's a chance of data missing, but we usually do that when the primary replica is no longer available. So all you have to do is you have to sign into the Azure portal. And then here you can see plan failover or force failover. So I confirm the workload is tapped for manual. And then here you have an option if you want to delete. For example, you're doing this to migrate your database from on-prem to the cloud. So you have an option to say, hey, after this failover, delete the AG, delete the DAG. I don't need it anymore. That means when that happens, your production now is the managed instance. Yun yung read-write application mo. You don't have any capability to fail back. You can skip this and it will just switch the roles between the two. So pag nag-switch ka ng role, ibig sabihin yung managed instance mo yung primary, siya yung read-write, tapos yung on-prem mo magiging read-only. So that if you do that, you still have the capability to go back. But here, since we're moving to the managed instance, he's going to choose to delete the AG. All right. So when you click finish, it will now fail over your database to the managed instance. So when we check here, so those are the steps that it took to fail over. And when you see here, when we refresh and check the usage, you can see here the managed instance is now read write. So now when you refresh, yun na yung managed instance nyo. Yung managed instance na yung primary nyo. Then I was talking earlier about the backups. So like I said, yung backups ng you see here, this is a backup for the managed instance. I will try to restore on 2019 and you can see that it will fail because of the version. So Before, you cannot restore any backups from managed instance or Azure SQL database to any on-prem because of the version. But now, if you restore the header only for the backup, you can see that the version is 957. Since it's the same version as your 2022, you can use that backup, take it to your on-prem server and restore it. So here we go. We're gonna restore it with a different database name, underscore MI, to our 2022 server. So when you click OK, it will restore the database and there you will have a new database on your 2022 instance, which is a backup from your managed instance. So yeah, so that's the managed instance link. So any questions so far? Yes po.
So from 2019, di ba po nag-update kayo from 2022?
Mhm.
So yung 2019 ba madi-destroy or may increment lang yung yung ano yung version na yun to 2022?
When you update the whole SQL server, the whole instance, for example, it will just
May implementation po ba or deleted yung 2019?
no. There's two ways of upgrading. One is yun nga, you can upgrade in place wherein yung instance na nasa server mo, i-upgrade niya to a newer version. When that happens, then it won't be deleted. It will just be upgraded to the newer version. The other way to upgrade is you have a side by we usually do side by side, especially for production, wherein you have a new instance with this, which is the newer version and the old instance. We just move the database between the two and then update the database compatibility. That's safer because especially for production, you need to have a failover. You need to have a rollback. If something happens. So the next item is Azure Synapse Leaks for server. Like I mentioned earlier, uh, it's not a simple well, because for SQL Server 2019, I think even for 2016, we have Polybase, wherein you can query your data for example, from an Azure storage. You can query your data from SQL Server. So for Synapse Link, it's a new process wherein you have a dedicated SQL pool that will read the data, the transaction log of the database itself, and then copy all the changes and put it to us an Azure Data Lake storage as a staging. Then you can consume it with your Azure Synapse analytics. It's 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 faster because you don't need to create an ETL or an ELT to move your data between your OLTP to your OLAP. You don't need to do that. It reads directly from your SQL server. And then Azure Arc enabled SQL Server also when you use Azure Arc with your SQL Server, it now allows you to have a pay-as-you-go licensing the same as the cloud. So you can use Azure Arc to host to manage your SQL Server on-prem, SQL Server 2022. That will let the Azure Active Directory. You can now use Azure Active Directory for authentication. You can do pay-as-you-go licensing. This one is huge, especially for enterprises because we usually yun yung barrier for SQL Server, mahal yung licenses. If with pay-as-you-go licensing, you can now use the same pay structure as the cloud with your on-prem SQL Server. And then you can now have Microsoft Purview. Uh, Microsoft Purview, pang data governance siya, it lets you manage the policies kung ba kung sino lang yung may access sa mga table na to. Or pwede mong i-document kung ano yung mga table na existing sa environment mo. Make sure the data type is the same. Kasi usually yun yung problem sa mga enterprises. Hindi na natin alam kung sino yung owner ng data. So with Purview, you can use Purview to tag sino yung owner ng for example may table ka for customers. ano yung mga applications na gumagamit ng table customers, ano yung data type ng customer, pwede mong i-manage using Purview. So with 2022 and Azure, you can use Microsoft Purview for your on-prem application. It also lets you create policies for the access for permission. Sino lang yung pwedeng may access dun sa data. Sino yung, like I said, sino yung owner, sino yung subject matter expert for the data para madaling mag-develop ng application. So, so those are the items that makes it connected. So now I'm just gonna show you guys some of the innovation on the other versions of SQL Server. For example, earlier someone asked, is it an IaaS? So for IaaS, for Azure, we have the virtual machines. So there's various types of VMs in Azure. Ayan yung mga available currently, yung burstable, GP, general purpose and confidential computing, compute intensive. Each type of VM may specific use siya. So for database, what do you think is the type of VM that you should be using? So ang database, ano yan, malakas kumain ng memory, CPU, pwedeng CPU intensive. So sa tingin nyo, among this, which Azure VM type should we use? No wrong answers.
Storage.
Which one? Storage optimized?
Yes.
Storage optimized, usually yung VM na ginagamit for storage intensive application, yung maraming read tsaka put ng data. So, pwede pero hindi siya yung pinaka taas kamay. Memory optimized.
Isa-isahin namin. Isa-isahin.
So yun na to.
Hey, thank you.
So, for SQL Server, we usually use memory optimized VMs or general purpose. For example, for not very, kung hindi naman memory intensive application mo, we do have general purpose or confidential computing. Yeah. Tapos, the best one for memory optimized, we usually use these two. EDSA. So that just to share information for VMs or for SQL Server, meron bagong version ng SSD, yung SSD version 2. And now in the Azure portal, you can now configure the SQL Server configuration options. Like I mentioned earlier, the Azure Active Directory authentication. And then for Azure portal, we now have it lets you create availability group a lot more easier. Before yan yung main problem, hindi naman main problem. Mahirap mag-create ng AG sa cloud kasi yung network natin is hindi siya yung network natin is software driven yung network natin. So minsan yun yung nagiging stumbling block ng mga nagki-create ng AG. Pakita natin. So you can see here if you go to the portal. Oh my God. Actually, meron yata internet. So if you go to the Azure portal, yung ibang mga demo ko recorded kasi mahal siyang gawin. And since it's already May, ubos na yung Azure credits ko. So that's why it's recorded. But this one we're not gonna create. So, let's see. So when you go to the Azure portal, you can see here when you create a new one sa SQL Server virtual machines, you now have the option to have high availability from the portal itself. So when you do this, you can see it will create the AG for you. You don't need to. It will help you provision the whole thing, the network itself. You can see here the workstation, the failover cluster. It will help you provision it. The Active Directory accounts. So before ito yung nagiging mahirap gawin. So, so now it's an option on the portal itself. So mas madali siyang i-provision as an AG. And then yung isa pang bago ngayon, meron ng tab for SQL Server settings. So here, you can, andito rin yung AG. AG name mo, yung network, yung role, secondary role, yung networking na gagamitin, yung authentication. Tapos eto, available din siya for normal standalone. Yung instance settings, ngayon madali na siyang baguhin. Usually kasi pag nag-install tayo ng SQL Server, may mga best practices tayong mga binabago. So here, from the portal itself, you can change na yung max depth, yung degree of parallelism, yung memory ng server mo. Pwede mo nang i-provision from the portal itself. Especially here, when you create when you install SQL Server, we usually advise you to give this permission. So now from the portal itself, it will do it for you. Before wala yun, kailangan mong gawin manually.
Kailangan ng credits. Parang yung sa serverless ka na ito.
So that's Azure VM. So next level up is Azure Managed Instance. So sa Managed Instance, yung buong instance of SQL Server is yours, but you don't need to manage the server itself. So pag meron ka mga applications na gumagamit ng instance level features like SQL Server jobs or CLRs, so usually for Azure SQL Database, it's not available. But for Managed Instance, you can use those. And then to highlight the new things for Azure, the newest innovation for Managed Instance, sa akin ito yung pinaka-importanting detail, fast deployment. Before kasi, for Managed Instance, it will take more than 3 hours to provision. Pag nagpunta ka sa portal, nag-create ka ng Managed Instance, 3 hours bago ma-create yung Managed Instance mo. So now, with the new development and innovations for Managed Instance, it will only take under 30 minutes to create a Managed Instance. So for me, yun yung pinaka-malaking change sa Managed Instance right now. This will just show you yung sinasabi ko. Again, recorded kasi mahal mag-provision ng Managed Instance. You see here, it took 3 hours and 50 minutes for these two instances to be created. Tapos pag bumaba ka, eto, tingnan mo yung deployment nito, 31 minutes lang. So it's a big change kasi before yung mga customers and clients, yun yung biggest reason kung bakit hindi nila ginagamit yung Managed Instance kasi ang tagal i-provision. So, Azure SQL Database, yun naman yung database as a service natin. So you manage the database itself. There's a few versions, general purpose and business critical and hyperscale. GP is for your ordinary workloads. Business critical, usually for your more IO intensive workloads. Yun yung ginagamit natin. You can see here, IOPS is better Pero syempre, price is higher. So for GP, we have serverless wherein your build per second. So for a more for price for performance, serverless is good. Business critical for your critical workloads for your production. And then hyperscale lets you scale your database up to sawa. Kung gaano kalaki yung database niyo, kung gusto niyo malaking malaki. Hyperscale usually yung ginagamit. Mas mabilis yung IOPS sa business critical pero dito unlimited storage. So kung meron kang databases more than 10 terabytes, you use hyperscale. Just to highlight the innovations for Azure SQL database right now, the newest one, meron ng 128 CPU for Gen 5 hardware. Tapos meron ng premium, may bagong hardware for hyperscale. The best one here, if you ask me, is now you can switch between hyperscale to GP. Before, pag kinonvert mo yung database mo to hyperscale, hindi mo na siya pwedeng ibalik to a normal Azure SQL database kasi iba yung iba yung infrastructure ng hyperscale kasi nga built siya for very large databases. So yung in the back end, iba yung storage structure niya, pati yung processes ng logs. So here, uh, now we can switch from hyperscale to general purpose. Before, pag sinwitch mo sa hyperscale, hindi mo na siya pwedeng ibalik sa GP, which is a problem kasi if you remember, I mentioned earlier, there's no way for you to restore an Azure SQL database to anywhere else. So stuck ka na dun unless i-migrate out mo yung data. Right, to close, like I said, if you're gonna summarize the whole session, ito lang yun. So SQL Edge to the Cloud SQL Server has every flavors for you to use for whatever purpose you have in your enterprise. And yeah, that's the summary. So if you want to learn more, finish kanina ni Azure Learning. If you are new to SQL Server and you want to understand databases, I recommend going through Azure SQL Fundamentals. It will help you understand databases itself and SQL Server. And maganda yung episodes ng Data Expose, si Bob at si Ana. If you want to learn more about data platform, data technologies, you can look for Data Expose in YouTube and in Microsoft. Question po. Wala? Ako may tanong ka. Price pala.
Guys, ask you a question. My price. Wala, wow.
Oh, may price? Pwede ako magtanong din.
Wala, don't be shy. Bigyan namin kayo ng mic.
Yes po.
How long should be the data retention? 6 months, 2 months?
Data retention is usually business driven. So may mga policies and standards tayong sinusunod. For example, if you're HIPAA or depende kung anong industry mo, merong industry standard. Usually, enterprises, nagsisimula sila sa 6 years. 6 years ang data retention. Depende sa, like I said, depends on your industry and the policies that you want to adhere to. Pero most commonly, 6 years yung normal na. It depends. Kaya nga meron tayong different kinds of storage. Usually, you don't let it rest on your OLTP. You move it out to your OLAP or you move it out to a backup. So, yun yung process. Importante yun for policy. May price ba yung batang?
May Microsoft merch.
Yung next merch.
You guys
Yeah.
have any more questions?
Anything about data? That? So yun. So, like I said, if ilan ba tayo? Meron pa ba? O okay na yun? Anyone else? Question? No? Okay.
Grabe, shy type. Awesome. All right. So thank you so much, Pio, for that insightful talk. Um, hopefully next time magtanong kayo guys because sayang naman. But yeah, before we proceed to our next speaker, we could have a 10-minute break. Yeah. So
Anong database ang tinuturo sa inyo ngayon sa school?
Usually po, sa computing subject po namin, ano lang siya, overview ng cloud.
Overview ng cloud. Pero meron bang subject for data?
I think, sir, sa mga third year pa po yun.
Ah,
Ano yun po?
Siya mo orgs.
Ano lang. Birthday niya po.
happy birthday.
Totoo po, totoo. May pang-mat po kami.
Mas yan, Pio. Pio, mas yan.
Kita naman naka-place.
Nag-effort kami
Technology, as well as she has a love for adventure and good food. She's certified in several areas of cloud computing and AI, including Azure Fundamentals, Azure Data, Azure AI, Azure Security Compliance and Identity Fundamentals, as well as Power Platforms Fundamentals. She is also a certified Azure Administrator, Azure Solutions Architect, Alibaba Cloud, and AWS Solutions Architect Associate. So, yeah, and she's here today to share about her Azure journey and walk us through the cloud app adoption framework. So, without any further ado, Lizzie Ann Hinojales.
Hello. Hello. Good afternoon. Before I start, I would like to say hi to those online. I think most of these ones are my teammates and my ex-teammates. So thank you for supporting me, guys. So, yeah, I'll be sharing with you about my Azure journey and cloud adoption framework. Okay. So my agenda for today is, yeah, I'll be sharing about myself. Although Joanna already introduced me, but I'll be sharing something new or yeah, what she didn't say. So I'll be sharing that and how it all started, how my Azure journey started, and then how it is now. From I started studying Azure, I think last 2021 or yeah. Then what I'm currently working with Azure, which is the cloud adoption framework. Sorry for the technical issues. So so about myself, I'm a lead software quality at and DevOps engineer at DeWi Solutions Philippines. And you may not know, but I'm very nervous right now. Actually, my hands are very cold, so please bear with me, guys. I'm very and also as a lead DevOps or yeah as a DevOps engineer, I've been currently working with AWS, but I consider myself new in Azure. I'm still learning, although I have those certifications. But yeah, I consider myself new, especially in cloud adoption framework. And then outside of work, I do love watching K-dramas, C-dramas, and I also love traveling. Yeah, as you can see here, these are the countries that I've been to, and I'm looking forward and becoming a Mrs. And also, I love being a fire mom for this very cute pug, and we will be expecting another one soon. Yeah, I think that's for me. Thank you for having me here, and I'm so excited to share my cloud, my AWS or I sorry, Azure. Oh my God, I think there will be another meme on Facebook next week. So yeah, I'll be sharing my Azure journey and cloud adoption framework. So for the next how it all started. So it all started when I was hired at DY Solution Philippines as a DevOps engineer or yeah, DevOps engineer. So before that, I don't have any experience in DevOps, but Sorry for the technical issues. I don't have any note for that. So yeah, I was hired at Device as a lead software quality and DevOps engineer. I don't have any experience in Azure, but thanks for my company for taking a chance on me. Oh yeah. And before I started working in Device, I studied Azure fundamentals, and luckily I took the first certification, and luckily I passed it. So yeah. And then let's proceed to the next slide. How it is now. So these are my current certifications. I started with before starting in Device, I only have the Azure fundamentals, and now I already have 7. And as you can see here, it's bigger than the other because I have a funny story about this one. So I'll move to the next slide. Okay, so there was this article for that was published. Uy, uy.
Sige,
Sorry for the technical issues. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
receive na ba? Thank you. English pa tayo na medyo.
This is normal.
Sige, but it's normal and already.
Second term. Ano ba ba? Bigyan natin ba? Kasi nga naman tayo sa business.
Naka-join na sa Teams.
Ang galing. Founder ng Philippine volunteers. She can't get over it.
Sorry.
Introduce ko ulit namin.
Para kasi hindi professional pa magdala. Or yes,
Sa likod ko lang. For example, dito nag-cut-cross. Saan department?
sa Bicol. Siyempre, babalik na.
Kaya ako na.
Also pala yun. Akala ko lang.
Wala pa module na yun, di ba?
Alam ko rin.
Lower the...
Ano yan, PG?
Dapat, meron na kaso, lagyan ko. Sino ba yan dapat? So, B.
Face to face yun.
Oo. Online muna. Kailangan muna ng practice.
Okay, so let's go back. Sorry for the delay. So how it is now. So I'll be sharing now what motivated me to take these 2 certifications here, the Azure Administrator Associate and the Azure Solutions Architect Expert. So this article was published in our company website. And since I was included there, you see, I'm there. So I was included in the company website. I'm so proud of myself because it was, I think, the first time that I was included in a what they call this in an article from for a company website. So I showed it to my boyfriend, which is my boyfriend, which is my fiancé now. So you know what he said? He said that these other guys are more awesome than me because they have the 2-star and 3-star badges. So tumaas yung kilay ko. So, okay, I can also do that. I can be awesome or more awesome than them. And by the way, the other guys are there. Boys, I'm more awesome than you, you know. Okay, so yeah, that's it. I took the first certification, or after we have talked about it, I I think it was after a week, I started the Azure developer. I not that one. Azure administrator associate. Let's go back to the next. The Azure Administrator Associate by using the Microsoft Learn. So I studied for a month, and luckily, I'm still lucky that I have passed the certification. And I didn't stop there. So as I also want to have the 3-star badge. So I took the Azure Solutions Architect Expert. Yeah. And by the way, I think 5 of my certifications or the vouchers for my certifications there are free. Yeah, it's free. I took that for free. I will explain that later on my next slides.
Wait, kinig ako gago.
And not this one. Asan na yun?
Ako, exam ko yun. Bigla lang. Binayaran ko lang talaga yung ano.
Here. How did I get my certification? So actually, I just registered in Microsoft Virtual Training Day. So everyone who's interested to take any Azure certification, please do take note of this. So yeah, for the fundamentals exam or for the fundamentals vouchers that I had, I registered in Microsoft Virtual Training Days. I just searched for the fundamentals exam or any fundamentals that I've seen. Actually, I think I registered for all the fundamentals there, but I only took the 4 because I forgot the other that I already have scheduled an exam. Sorry, Microsoft, for that. Because I was already busy preparing for my wedding. So yeah. And then after that one, for the expert, I joined the Microsoft Build. There is a developer challenge during that time. So you can take any certification or any expert certification after you have completed the challenge.
Perfect po yun.
Huh? Yes, it's for free. You just need to finish all the modules at the given time or at the given duration.
The modules are free then.
Yes, you can access the module using the Microsoft Learn. Please do take note and listen carefully. How did I get my certifications? So after that, I usually after you have completed the training, so you can usually receive the voucher after a week. Then I scheduled my exam. For the extra scheduling, you can receive, there's an email for that, so you can choose for the in-person or the virtual, but I always choose the virtual one because you can do that on the comfort of your home. You just need to have a room that you're the only person in that room. And then I use Microsoft Learn for all the certification modules since I usually don't have focus on the training. So I read on the Microsoft Learn. And after that, I go to YouTube or YouTube, you choose. I go to YouTube and just search for the certification that I'll take. I don't usually have a go-to person. I just look for the comments on the video. You know, the comments that, hey, thank you so much. I passed the certification because of you. That's the guy. And then after that one, I do practice exams. And I don't pay for my practice exams, but they have a lot of websites that offer that. For you can pay for the practice exams, but for me, I just search on the net for the name of the certification, and there's a lot of there's a lot of results that you can open. You can open all that links, and then but make sure that the answers are correct. So double check, please. I think that's for my certifications. And now, this is what I'm currently working, which is the Cloud Adoption Framework. Cloud Adoption Framework is like a guide for companies who wants to move to the cloud. So before tayo, like if for example, using the Google Drive and iCloud with Pay, who's using or no one? Okay. So, okay, understandable. Some of the audience are students here, so yeah. Um, if we subscribe onto something, right, we always think what benefits we'll take, how much it's cost. So that is what adoption framework is. So there is phases of cloud adoption framework. You have the strategy, plan, ready, adopt, govern, manage, secure, organize. This will help organization when they start to finish in migration with the cloud. So I'll explain or give an overview for each phases. So let's start with strategy. Strategy is like when you're planning a trip, you need to know where you want to go first, right? You need to have the destination first. So in In strategy, you need to know why you want to move to the cloud. What is your or what is the goals you want to achieve? How much it costs, and the technical considerations you need, or like if you need to study to move to the cloud, what are the resources that you'll be using before moving to the cloud? That's strategy. And then we have the plan. What's the plan? So when on the first phase, we already know our destination, right? And on the second phase, it's like we're planning our itinerary. So we need to know where are we going. We already have the detailed plan. Where are we going? So in this plan, we have to change our assets or our digital assets. We have to list our digital assets, and then who will manage those assets? Are we ready? Or our skills are ready, or it's coordinated with the migration plan? And then the cloud adoption framework, which is how we can do all these things to move to the cloud, or how we can make it work. That's plan. And then ready. Are we ready? So ready is like checking everything in your luggage before going to the trip to know that you are everything you need is there. That's the same as getting ready in the cloud. So we need to find the route cloud model that we'll be using and what concept for Assure Landing Zone. Assure Landing Zone is a guide for businesses, or it's a set of rules for businesses to have a safe and easy to use um, cloud environment. And this includes the network, security. It's like, parang siya yung ano, yan na yung muka, kung anong gusto mong mangyari, nandun na lahat. Everything is there sa Azure Landing Zone. Nandun na yung subscription, resource groups, or resource group is ano lang siya, literal na resources na nagkagrupo. Resource group, then security management, who will manage the cloud, I mean the IAM, or identity access management, sino yung makakapasok, sino yung makaka-access, ano lang yung access nila. So that's ready. Next is adopt. So on the previous phases, we already know our destination. We have an itinerary, our luggage is packed. And for adopt, we are already on the road and ready to start our adventure. So here, we are starting to move to the cloud, or we are moving to the cloud. So before that, we check first if everything is working. Check first if we're ready, and then we start moving, and after that, we check if everything we move to the cloud is working. And then we make it better. So we have the modernize, we upgrade our process, application, and database. And then for innovate, we try new things and relocate. Uh, we move something. If it's not working in the cloud, we move it somewhere that it's working. Yeah, that's relocate, and that's for adopt. And for the initial governance, so for modern governance, so we established our plan or method. What methods are we gonna use? What tools are we gonna use? And we have the who will be in charge of this moving, who's in charge. And then we improve the rules and regulations that we have created for the governance. Govern. And next is manage. So yeah, manage is we create a list of the supported workload. So we list all the resources that is important for us, and then we categorize we categorize on the list of the important resources is that which is more critical, and then we use the best practices, or we improve what we already have, and then use the high level design. So you can add the disaster recovery that was mentioned earlier, yeah, high availability, everything for the high level. That's for manage. And for security, so when you move to the cloud, it's it's really important that we have everything secure, or everything you move to the cloud is secured, because as a company, lahat ng resources mo is nandun. So dapat ano talaga siya, secured, as no one na parang dapat walang maka-access. So this methodology is a guide kung paano natin mapapatibay ang security natin. So it's like locking your house so that no one can enter. And then I think for me, you have to do this zero trust. And then the identity access management, you have to, kung sino lang yung maka-access. For example, may mga resources ka, may storage ka. So yung dapat na taong makaka-access nun is yun lang yung mga taong for storage, or use the least privilege access. Yeah, that's for security. And last but not the least, we have the organize. So it's like organizing your room. You need to, yeah, organizing and cleaning your room so that you can find uh what you are looking for easily. So we choose what organizational type we have, and then we recognize our cloud capability. Then establish the teams, or divide the teams who can do this and that, and then use the RASI metric, or the responsibility. Uh, what's the acceptability? Yeah, use the RASI. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I think that's it for my uh Azure landing zone. Any questions? Questions?
May question daw po.
Yes. Sino po siya? I'll give you guys the mic for any questions. Come on, we also have a prize for the next one who's gonna ask questions. Take advantage and dyan pa yung speakers natin.
Yes, birthday girl.
Happy birthday.
How can organizations measure the success of their cloud adoption framework and ensure an ongoing improvement?
Happy birthday!
Kaya niyo po yan. Thank you.
I can answer the loud. Give me my Hello? Okay. So for the organization, what was the question? Sorry. For how can organization be a part of the success of moving to the cloud? Measure the success. Okay. So I think for the organization, you have to have the right people when you move to the cloud. Alam nga naman, mag-migrate ka sa cloud ng yung mga tao mo is not really wala silang idea. So that's why we need to be ready. So we have to upskill, right? Upskill those individuals na gagamitin mo sa cloud. Like for myself, I'm still upskilling. So I need, as I have a new role as a DevOps engineer, I need to study everything from the cloud. Yeah, I think that's it. That's how you can do that. Any
How do we
question?
measure the success naman? Na-secure yung...
Okay, thank you. Tinanong niya lang.
Ay, magtatanong ko. Ano na lang, meron question?
Give the mic, please. Kay.
Habang ako sa question.
Ikaw muna.
Go muna. Sige.
Just curious lang po, how can organizations determine which cloud adoption framework is best suited for their specific goals and needs? And siguro mas maintindihan ko po siya if you can give an example po.
Okay, on organization. So, perfect nga daw question. How can an organization
How can organizations determine which cloud adoption framework is best suited for their goals and needs?
Actually, yun na yung cloud adoption framework. So it's just a guide. So it depends dun sa guide kung ano yung ano ba yun? sa company, kung ano yung needs ng company. So, hindi naman lahat doon dapat nilang sundin. Kasi nakadepende pa rin sa kanila kung ano yung mga kailangan nila. So, for me, wala akong maano na kung ano yung specific. Kasi based dun sa hindi ko alam kung ano yung actual na need ng company. So, sila pa rin yung magde-decide. Bale, magbe-base lang sila doon sa Cloud Adoption Framework Phases or Guide. Doon. Wala siyang actual na, ay, ito, sige, Accenture, ito yung Cloud Adoption Framework nyo. Hindi ganon. Bale, sila yung maghanap kung ano yung mainam para sa kanila. Yun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions ba? Meron ba?
This is actually in relation with Casey's questions earlier. So my question would be, how I know. So yung question would be is about how can we measure success. So mine naman would be, what are the common challenges or the initial struggles that organization may face during the cloud process or the adaptation process?
Hello. Okay, I think based on the phases, I think the organization, yung challenges would be the manage, the governance, security, and the adopt phases. Because for adopt, yun na yung nag-move eh. For example, ako as a DevOps, mas challenging sa akin yung adopt phase, because doon na tayo nag-move. So, hindi naman ibig sabihin no, na pag minove mo na sa cloud, yung mga resources mo is ready na siya agad gumagana na agad. So that's the challenge. Hindi mo alam kung how long it will take para gumana yung mga resources, or tama nga 'di ba, on adopt, meron tayong relocate doon. So since kapag hindi siya gumana doon, so hanap tayo ng iba. Parang ganoon. Hindi siya yung another question. Okay. Ayun.
Hindi po.
Na ako Hello?
Hello. Hello.
Hindi pa
Hi, ayun. So, with relation lang po sa sinabi niya. So, you're asking for server redundancy po ba or storage redundancy?
Depende pa rin yan sa ng company.
Okay.
Hindi ako makabibigay ng specific answer kasi naka-base din pa rin yun sa kung ano yung gusto ng company. Kasi yun nga, sa guide. I hope I answered your question. Meron pa.
Actually po, maganda pa yung naging sagot niyo.
Wow, thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Gusto ko ulit
Congratulations.
next week
Plus 95%.
Thank you, Prof.
A plus.
Next po. Panel to
Hello po. Nabanggit niyo po kanina na yung word na adapt. Di ba ibig po sabihin ng nag-adapt is magta-transition from current situation to new. So, yung tanong ko po, bakit po sila mag-a-adapt? Ano yung previous situation ng company kaya hindi nila mag-adapt?
Ayun, balik tayo sa strategy. Ayun, dun sa strategy yung question na bakit natin gagawin to? Ano yung mga benefits sa cloud or how much it will cost? So, dun pa lang, kung nakasagot nila yon na ay may benefits to, magagamit ko to. Like, for example, kanina yung example ko is kumuha ko ng extra sa iCloud, di ba? Yung may bayad na. Or for example, lang ako, 128 ba yun? 128 GB sa cloud. And then, I 128 GB sa phone ko. So, bakit gusto kong gumamit ng mag-pay sa iCloud? May 128 memory naman ako. So, maybe because I'm using more datas na isa-store ko or mas malaki yung memories ng mga datas which is lumalagpas na dun sa memory ng phone ko. So that's that's the reason why. Depende siya sa strategy. Before ka mag-move sa adopt, mag-ano ka muna sa that's why we have the strategy as the first phase. Yes?
So you're pertaining po ba sa yung pag-adapt po is a form of disaster response din? Kasi kung mag-a-adapt ng cloud, it means they need to adapt to the cyber threat din.
Yes, pwede din siyang ganun. Pero naman kasi hindi mo naman madederatsyong ma-adapt. Hindi ka naman didiretso sa adoption kung hindi mo pa na-forecast yung dapat mong gawin eh. Kaya nga, we have the first phase, the strategy nga, and planning. So, bakit ka didiretso sa mag-move kung hindi mo pa alam yung mga instances na yon? Did I answer your question?
Yes po.
Kaya ang daming
Speaker si Joanna.
Maubos na yung word. But anyway, thank you guys for all those questions.
Thank you
And
so
thank you
much.
so much, Lissy. Let's give her a warm round of applause. Yay. All right. So now we're down to our final speaker. But before that, we're going to have a 30-minute break first. We have food outside. So, yeah.
Let's go.
Thank you so much. Let's Hello. By the way, let's take pictures first, but before we proceed outside for the food, just so we have an event picture together.
The camera angle, you know.
Ate, may tanong pa daw.
Tabakan na naman. Tatanong-tanong pa kayo.
Ayaw niyo naman maging masaya.
Proceed here in front.
Basta ano yung likod ko? Ano ba?
Kailan yung wedding?
See.
Bilis.
Tandaan ko yung mukhang nyo. Ricardo, ha?
Naka-Facebook ako sa
Ay, yung sa Tagalog.
Flash nyo na lang yun, yung banner.
If you watch the video, I'll just explain what I said.
Compress pa po.
Ako eh. Press.
Do you want to flash the banner on the press? Yan.
All right.
Okay. One, two, one, two, three.
Yay!
Yay!
See that side na.
Ano ba?
I'll bring
Eman.
Eman, okay.
Manual dyan.
Alam.
Alam.
Angas naman ng ano.
Evergreen.
Never see.
Gusto ka na din ng
Parang pinagandaan yung ano, pinagandaan yung mga tanong.
Oo nga po eh. Bakit nila alam na bakit?
I-question na sila bago ka mag-present.
Magandaan nga eh.
Nag-search na agad sila ng cloud adoption framework siguro. Wala man lang tanong ng personal. Personal yung inis.
Parang galing sa quiz yung tanong eh. O homework yun yan.
Bakit ang dami ng tanong?
a high-performing technology consultant for 11 years. He has 11 years plus experience in software development and business applications implementation. He mostly uses .NET, SharePoint, Power Platforms, data, AI, Azure, and cognitive services. He is also a Microsoft MVP. He is also a Microsoft certified trainer and C Sharp Corner MVP. So he is a Microsoft certified data analyst and a Microsoft certified Azure um, scientist associate with 15 plus Microsoft certifications. He is a research and technology lead in Tech One Global. He also leads Facebook communities like Cloud Experts Group, SharePoint User Group Nepal, and aside from that, he is an active contributor in open source. So he's passionate about learning new technologies, writing articles, and contributing to the open source community. So please join me in giving him a warm welcome, Ridwan Ansari.
Thank you. So, yes, so um, good evening, everyone. I hope you all had your food, so you have enough energy to at least spend another 45 minutes with me to know mostly about cloud PaaS services. So before going that, she already introduced me. So there is some changes like the designation I was that is not updated. So now I'm currently a application development manager at Tech One Global Philippines. Tech One Global is a multinational company that a kind of pioneer in digital transformation, cloud services, and enterprise content management. Yes, I love solution architecting. I'm a full stack .NET developer. Uh, Let me just fix my slide. I think. Yeah. So, yes, I'm a Microsoft MVP, also C Sharp Kernel MVP, Microsoft certified trainer, and uh, altogether I have 15 plus Microsoft certifications. Um, I'm a certified Scrum Master, certified product owner with the Scrum, and like our previous speaker, I have not spent a single rupees on these certifications. Most of these certifications are through Microsoft events, like you can attend virtual training or like Microsoft Build, Inspire. So from there you'll get a coupon. Sometime you get one coupon if you complete some of the cloud challenges. So using those coupons, I have earned all these certificates.
Oh, coupons.
So for today's agenda, we will be discussing about PaaS services. What are the options we have in Azure PaaS, and we'll also talk about modern application modernization. What are the approaches we have for the application modernization? Then also we'll discuss some of the PaaS services. We'll do a small demo, and we'll see how we can go for simple to complex application, complex scenario using those PaaS services. So if we see PaaS services, let me go back. Yeah. So with the PaaS services, like it will give you a kind of platform uh, where you can do the deployment, development of your application without taking a headache of like maintaining the servers, storage or licenses, but still you have options to configure those things. For example, like choose the operating system of your choice, but you don't need to pay the licenses of those operating system. So these are where like the PaaS service come. You can do your end-to-end development life cycles with the PaaS services, like you can develop the applications, you can deploy it, you can test it, you can manage it, you can do maintenance, and also you can debug it So likewise, you can do end-to-end life cycle using the PaaS services. And if we say PaaS services, we mostly talk about the cloud services. So those all are on the cloud. So it will be like we will be able to develop a cloud simple to complex, cloud enable, even enterprise application using those PaaS services. And our cloud provider will take the responsibility of maintaining our infrastructure, licenses, middlewares, whatever the uh, services or whatever the underlying technology we need for the that development, it will be provided by our cloud provider. But still we have an option to manage to do our configuration to choose the RAM or like capacity of our choices, and it is highly scalable. There are many more options we have. We'll see later in the demo. We'll have a complete development framework with those services. So this is just a simple example that you can understand what is IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. So if we say about us, where we will it consists of your infrastructure like storage, servers, networking, data center. PaaS is something above that where it consists of your development tools, database, business analysis, operating system, and SaaS is something which we can use as a software as a service like Office 365, where we just log in, we use our systems, we don't even maintain the environment, development environment or anything, we just use our software. So here are some advantages with the PaaS services. First thing is like we are reducing the workload related with the infrastructure licenses, environment setup. So this will save some time for, especially for development. You don't need to worry about, you don't need to maintain those servers, their uptimes or their licenses, uh, networking. So these are something we will have advantage with the PaaS services. Development will be faster because we are reducing these workloads. And these are always uptime. It means like if we are using any cloud service provider in Azure, the most of the time the SLA will be 99.95 above percentage. We have wide range of tool and platform available for PaaS service, which means like the in the today's world, whatever the tools we need for the development, these all are available in the cloud platform. It is quite easy to configure and scalable. uh, Pricing model is quite flexible. Like if you want, you can take a low cost or even there are free services. And if there is a requirement, you need a complex environment or like business critical applications. For that, we have also a super computer as well. And of course, it's geographically distributed, so you can keep your data redundancy in different geographical location. Uh, it is easy to manage your application lifecycle. It is quite easy for distributed teams. Like if you have a teams located in different location, so you have an environment in the cloud, it is quite easy to manage, work together, even work from home. Uh, Even like let's say if the pandemic hit was there, so during that time, if we have a PaaS service somewhere in the cloud, we should not we don't need to go office and we don't need to maintain server or infrastructure on site, so you can work seamlessly like even from home or any location, that doesn't matter. And if some company has a distributed team or like they might have offices in different locations, still they can work on a common platform. Then uptime guarantee and so on, the list are so many if we say about the advantages. Okay. With Azure PaaS, like developers are equipped with all the necessary tool features that is required to build a modern application of today's. So it offers wide range of PaaS services, and I like to show one from this link. Yeah. So these are the services available in the Azure. This is just a one kind of, no, I'm not able to share the screen. Uh, hold on. Okay. So you can see my screen, no? So these are the services we have available in Azure. Now, if we select the PaaS service, you can see we have ample of PaaS services, which means like if you want to have a service in any of the category we have, like for AI, for IoT, for analytics, for compute, for database, for development, for identity, integration, management and governance, migration, networking. So all these areas we have a PaaS service. So this is one website you can explore and see like what are the PaaS service we have available. From here you can just change and check it. I'll go back to my slide. So we have all the tools available, as I said, and we have the facility of DevOps. Even we can implement DevSecOps with these services. Uh, so we'll talk about modern applications. When we say modern application these days, it is cloud native applications, which means like if we are developing any solution, we should make sure that it is easily adapting or easily we can publish into the cloud. Also, we should use the latest technology we have. Now, if we see the current industry, even the customers or market we have lost lots of applications even in the banks or telcos or any corporate company. Still, they are relying on those uh, legacy applications, which are outdated technologies, on-premises are there, and they are quite reluctant to migrate as well to the cloud. So another terms that today, like even Microsoft encourages for application modernization, which is a iterative process like that will help you to migrate your process from legacy to the modern world, cloud native applications. So the goal is here to enhance the quality, customer experience, and we can quickly move those applications and bring to the market. Now, legacy applications means both older, even newer applications can be modernized with the cloud technology, and it comes with several other advantages. Now, why we need to modernize those applications? Even some of our the industries, those we as which they are using that legacy application, still they ask, okay, my application is already working. Why I need to migrate it? Why I need to go to the cloud? It's working for me. So here are some reasons that we need to consider when we are modernizing our application. First thing is uh, whatever the cost you are investing on your current application, the infrastructure you have maintained on premises, it is costly because we need to maintenance cost is really high. So we need to consider first that. And also the industrial regulation is there. Now, day by day, the industries are moving. Things are moving to the cloud. Now, if we stick to our legacy application, we'll be out, we'll be out of support. Already Microsoft has stopped support to many legacy applications on-prem environment. So sooner or later, even your application is having some critical issues, you will not be able to get that expert support. Another is technical depth. The cost you are spending on maintaining those applications is much higher than rather than modernizing those applications. Um, Another thing is security. So modern applications, modern infrastructure, clouds comes with the more security. So we have lots of vulnerabilities going these days. So we don't know when we are going to get attacked. So we need to consider security as a factor. Cost optimization. If we see the cloud, everyone mostly they say like it's costly because we have to pay huge amount for the cloud service. But if you consider the like ROI after a few years, it's a cost effective. Also the productivity, which we will see how it will improve the productivity. The cost the maintaining legacy application, even development, writing code will be more costly. User satisfaction. These days, almost everyone we prefer cloud native applications. So the company who is having like legacy application, sooner or later they will lose their customer because the end user experience is going to be really bad for them. Still, we are having sometime we complains about some bank mobile applications. When we open through the browser, it takes huge time to load the data. Sometime like we don't get that good experience that we can get from these modern applications. And of course, the technology advancement. So what challenges are there? So when we do survey or even Microsoft shows these challenges. So what are the reasons that people are or still companies are reluctant to go to the modern application? So these are the few areas. Like first thing is we need to have a skilled resource. Those who are skilled, qualified with the cloud technologies. Another one is fragment securities, conflict priorities. Business are always priorities for something else, so they always keep the technology with the low priority. They have multiple legacy applications, so migration for them, it will become a time consuming for them. Let's say they have a, if we see a enterprise company, they have like more than 100 applications. So to modernize all those applications, they become reluctant. For them, it's a time consuming plus cost is there. Another one is quality assurance because now their applications are okay. It's serving the purpose. Now when they will move to the cloud, they need to do that QA again, quality assurance. There is a risk factor that some of the component might not work, might not uh, behave according like when it goes to cloud, the experience they are getting, or it might create several bugs for them. And the business impact will be there, data migration, IT budget. These are the challenges we have right now. So if we want to modernize these legacy applications, we have several approaches, but these three approaches are like uh, will suit for most of the applications. First is the platform modernization. In some case, what will happen when we are modernizing the applications, first we need to modernize the platform. Then we can modernize the application. Sometimes architectural optimization is important. And in some case, some of the applications, we might need to re-engineering whole application. It might not suitable for the cloud. So we need to think of something, just drop it and build something new. Because always you cannot be rely on those legacy applications. And to develop those applications, now we have lots of options like even we can go for low code platform where you don't need to write entire applications with the code. Just you can use the low code platform and build the application and you can quickly launch those. So Azure offer like end-to-end serverless solutions. So serverless means it doesn't mean that we don't have server. There is a server. Only the thing is the workload related with the server maintenance is removed from the developer hand. So they don't need to spend on maintaining those server. That's why we called it serverless architecture. Now we have serverless for entire, like if we need any services from any of the category, we have serverless option for all those areas. For example, if we need serverless compute, then we have a Azure App Service, Azure Function, serverless containerized microservices. And if we are looking for serverless workflow integration, we have Azure Logic Apps, API management, Event Grid. If we are looking for serverless AI and machine learning services, then we have cognitive services, bot service, machine learning platform with serverless. So we can build serverless application for relational and non-relational database. Also, we have SQL, Cosmos DB, all these options we have. Even we can use a storage without server. We have serverless storage feature with the blob storage, Azure Monitor, even Azure DevOps. These all we can build without having serverless architecture. So we have like earlier I showed one diagram. We have like ample of past services. Among them, like we will just get idea with few serverless services that is quite these services are mostly used for building like modern applications. So one of the most loved services for developers, Azure App Service. Azure App Service, it is a kind of service that is used to host or publish your web application, cloud-based application. It has a managed environments. It has a redundancy. You can keep the availability available in different geographical location. You can manage the traffic. Um, you this Azure App Service comes with several SaaS platform. It has a huge connectors through which you can connect with several SaaS environment like SAP or Salesforce. It has a security like world standard security and compliance. Serverless code deployment slot, which means like within an app service, if you want to create a separate environment for like your UAT, um, your QA, your development, your production. So it has a different slotting option within this one app service plan. It has a health check and advisory recommendation, real-time debugging, which is one of the important feature for developers when they are developing applications. Most of the case, when we run the applications locally, it works fine. And when we push it to the production, we face issues most of the time. So what will happen? It will give you option to do the real-time debugging, real-time log analysis. So that will help you to solve the problem on the production. When we go for like on-prem environment, we are always in the chaos like, okay, why this solution is not working when it goes to the production? Because we don't have that don't have that option to debug with the real production environment. But Azure App Service will give you these options. Even you can debug to the production and get the logs. DevOps optimization, which means we can automate our like CI/CD. So it now Azure App Service comes with a very flexible, easy way to do CI/CD. It comes with the free version as well. Like now today, you can build applications with the zero cost with Azure App Service. It has a free version as well. Even you can try now. You can build your own applications with the zero cost. With that, it has a shared one, which is the low cost service. Now, if you want to develop some business critical applications with you need more traffic, you have more traffic, more user rate, then you can go for like a standard premium plan. So up to like 32 cores and 256 GB RAM computing capacity. If you have a like really business critical applications, you can even go for isolated service plan up to 64 cores and 256 GB RAM. And scale out, most of the case like scaling option is very important. If we have a more hit, let's say like if we have millions of users hitting your application. So it has an option, it will create a multiple instance for same application. So your traffic will get distributed among those instance. So it comes with the like auto scale, or even you can define the rule. Auto scale means based on the user hit, the application will create a multiple instance automatically, or even you can apply the rules like, let's say I can write a rule, okay, if my CPU utilization goes to 80%, create a new instance. So it will create another copy of that application so that your traffic will divide. Now you can write another logic like, let's say if the CPU utilization goes to 30%, reduce the instance. So that way you can optimize your cost. Uh, there is a other misunderstanding among event developers. Um, Azure App Service or Azure Platform is good for .NET developments, which is not valid. Um, Azure App Service is perfectly, it comes with all the features even for the Java developers, Python developer, PHP developers, for all the platform, like you can, all the language you have, for all those languages, Azure App Service has all the features that you need for it. So now we can say it is a platform for every kind of application, not only for .NET application. And our first speaker, he already shared about database, so I'll not go much more about. But we have option for all type of database we need, for relational, non-relational. Even if you want, like he gave some more advantage description, like you can go for, like you can create a virtual machine and you can, but that will not be fast service. So we have all kind of database available in the cloud itself. Azure. So uh, this is a event-driven low computing, like Azure function is really cost effective. If you want to build, or if you want to run some event, some function based on some events, let's say, for example, if some changes happen in your computing or some event and you want to run some application based on that or some function. So Azure function is one of the very handy service, like and the cost is really low, as I know, like with 0.02 1 million execution are there. So if you want to build your backend APIs, uh, this Azure function will be very cost effective. Even we are building several backend APIs using Azure functions. And it you can we can build these Azure functions with any preferred language. It also supports CI/CD. So this is one of the past service. API management. Okay. So if we see organization, they have a several services, several applications, not only one applications. Every organization, they cannot depend upon only one application. They will have a several services. Now, if we see the current scenario, what we really do, like for a bank, let's take an example of bank. They have more than 100 services running under their organization. Now, they need to maintain all those services separately. They have to maintain the security for those services separately. They need to maintain the authentication separately. They need to manage it separately. They need to define the users group separately. Now, with Azure API management, what we can do, all the backend APIs or services you can bring to one platform, and you can organize centrally. You can manage the authentication from one place. You can put the endpoints similar, so that the end user will be, for them, it will be a kind of abstract layer. They will not know the backend technology of that, but they will use your APIs only. So we can manage all those, we can bring all those API into API, Azure API management, and we can expose it to target users, target groups. So it is one platform where you can manage all your services. And these days, for every organization, this is going to be a very important service because they need to expose their API to the public, even for internal, for other system integrations likewise. So this is one of the uh, past service that can help to overcome their problem to manage all the services at central place. Azure Logic App Bypass. Um, this is also called as an integration platform as a service. It is a low-code platform with a drag and drop. You can define some process and create an integration services or integration, or you can do automation just with the drag and drop without writing any code. So it is a kind of workflow. We can even do it for business critical applications or to manage the Azure services as well. This is also very cost effective and we can pay per minute for this. Static, Azure static web apps. Um, uh, this is one of the another PaaS service, which is also free. Today, an organization can build their portfolio, their website for free using static web apps. Even if you choose the high computing, the cost is really low. So static web app means you can bring your front end into this service. Static means not the static applications. Even you can bring a dynamic application, but you need to communicate the backend through APIs. So your front end technology, front end of your application, we can bring here. It can be used for .NET, Angular, Vue, or React.js. And this is also like it comes with a version, or even if you go for high computing, the cost is low. Azure DevOps, another service that we use to optimize or to boost the development productivity, which means um, we can manage our task activities with the Azure board. We can create our sprint, create a use cases, then define the task, assign the users, so they can do their activities. It comes with the repos where you can manage your source code. You can manage your code commitment likewise. Uh, you can automate your test plans. You can consider this as a collaboration platform for development as well as a business team. We have an artifact. So all this together comes with Azure DevOps, through which you can automate your development, build and release pipelines. If you go one step higher, it if we say DevSecOps, through which like security first mindset we called it. So we can apply a security layer during your development, release, building, all these pipelines. So there where the DevOps comes with the security. Uh, so today we have now end-to-end platform available with the PaaS service on top of Azure. I'll quickly show one demo. Um,
Hindi ko makita. Walang dashboard natin.
I hope you all can listen to me.
Yes.
So I don't need my plan. So here, I like if we want to create any Azure PaaS service like Azure function or app service, it is quite easy. We can just go and search here and start it. So I'll just create one app service. Here is one Azure function app service already here. So if you want to create, just let me use this. We can choose subscription. We can choose our resource group.
Can you increase voice or loudly?
Then we can. No, no, it's okay. I can manage. Sorry. So we can choose our subscription. We can create a resource group. Then we can give name to our app service, and this will connect with Azure website.net. Will become your domain for applications. Then you can choose your stack, like if you want to build code, Docker, or static web app. Then you can choose .NET platform or like .NET 6, 7 or ASP.NET framework, Go. We want to build this platform for Java, Node, PHP, Ruby, Python. So you can see though it is a SaaS service, we have a option to choose which platform we want to use for the development. So we can choose, let's say, one of the platform. Let's say I choose .NET 6. Then I can choose a operating system. I want to keep it like Windows or Linux. Then I can choose a region, and then the pricing model is here. So if you explore the pricing, yeah. So you can see we have a free version as well, then shared version, and the cost is here. So free, completely free, then cost of shared, basic, standard, premium. Likewise, if we go like, we have all the options, like even if we need complex, like isolated environment where we have like, uh, let me give this CPU, RAM, all these we can choose and customize it. So we have option to choose which computing we need for this application based on our requirement. I'll go back. So apart from that, we have option to do some network configuration. So I'll not create it. I have already created one app service. So let me show some of the features of app service more. So this is one deployment slot we have. Uh, like this is a production environment. Now, if you want to build a separate environment, keeping all the configuration environment same, we can just create a different slot. Now, if we see the um, instead of creating a separate, all the infrastructure, everything, you have already an option to create a separate platform, just even a single click. So every configuration, every setup for your different environment will be same. So this is one option we have. So I'll just create one dev slot. So my application name, and it is creating a dev slot. So I have an option. I can copy some of the setting from previous one if I want to copy the setting, and I can add a slot. So within a few seconds, it will create a brand new environment for me to host my application, a dev environment. Yeah. So my dev environment is already ready. Now, in case if I want, I can manage the traffic also. So I'll not go here. We have a deployment center as well if you want to maintain the CI/CD from some of the Git repository. Configuration, if you want to apply the authentication to the application, I can directly apply from here. I can see the application insights. I can manage the network. In any case, I feel like, no, I need to now scale up my applications. I can go easily scale up from here. Let's say my current plan is one. I want to change into different plan based on the user requirement. So I can do that one. With that, we have like numerous other options here, like service backup option, clone option. So many options are there. API management. Now let me just quickly deploy one application. I have already created one .NET application. It is quite simple. Just simply we can go here and add a new project. Then you can choose whatever the application type you need, like Azure Function or Blazor app or .NET applications. Next, I'm creating just a default application, my new uh, Azure app. So if I want to publish it, it is now quite simple. I don't need to spend much time. I can simply click, let me just show it from the beginning. I can attach with one of my Azure account. Uh, the environment I choose one was the window. Then it will show my all the app services under the me, and now I can quickly choose which app service I want to deploy the application. Now let's say I choose one of these and simply I finish it. So I can go close it. So my publish is ready. Now earlier I already did this and I can click and it will publish the application itself. Even we can do CI/CD with a simple click itself. Now these options are already here. If I want to do CI/CD, my application is published here. Services are not available here. So I published my application. It's a completely running application. So this is my new Azure app application. Now I'm doing a development and we find we need to build a version 2. So I will create another version of this one, V2. And I want to publish this, but before publishing it to the production, I want to publish into dev and check, and then it will publish into the production. So I can simply click here, publish. This time again, I'll choose a new profile. Next, window. I'll choose the same app service. And I will publish this into my dev environment. So here is you can see option like I can publish it directly or I can publish it from my GitHub action. When I will commit my code into GitHub repository, it will automatically publish into the dev environment. So I'm going just a simple case.
Excuse me.
Close it. I'll publish it. So it will take few seconds. For the first time when we publish a code, it takes a quite long time. And once it is published, next time when we push the upgrade or something, will be faster. So my application is already installed. It's just restarting. So I have one application in my dev environment. This is version 2, and this is my production, which is not version 2. So you can see there is a difference between these two is I added a new feature called version 2, and the previous is already there. Now, if I test and I found, okay, my version 2 is ready. Now I want to push this into production. So for that, most of the time, if you see like our the approach. To push something production, we try to keep some downtime because we need to migrate something. We need to do a lots of manual job. But here, um, you don't need to do anything. Just let me try my Azure, service. Mhm. Now, if you go here, I have a deployment slot. One is dev, one is production. Now my dev is already working, it's QA and it's passed. Now I want to push this into production. There is a very simple option called swap. So my swap is dev, my target is this one. Now if I swap it without downtime, my development or my tested code will be moved into production with a zero downtime. So since it is swapping, even if I run my application, so dev slot is moving into production, which means like the my development or like I can give different name development, UAT, QA, then production. So I'm pushing my code into production. Even during this swap also, if you refresh your application, you should be able to get it. And production is also running. Sorry. Yeah, my production code is also running. So I will not face any downtime. Now, once this swap is performed, your production will show version 2 because you are moving your development code into the production one. Generally, this swap doesn't take even this much time, matter of only seconds. Yeah. Yeah, you can see like my production is updated. So I can see now version 2 in my production, which means like with zero downtime, I was able to push my development code into production. So that's one benefit of having like Azure app service. Even I have seen the same features is already available into the Azure functions likewise. So that's how now I'll go back to my slide. This is just one example. Now, even if you build a complex application with low cost. So this is one example. Mostly I use like a static web app, Azure function. Your Azure function, we can connect with the SQL database, Cosmos, or AI services, storage, and we can bring our front end into a static web app. So this is how we can even design a complex application using serverless APIs, serverless architecture with low cost. Um, we saw like I discussed several benefits. So as I said, like we are reducing our deployment and development. This pass is less prone to error, which means like we are doing everything using a modern approach. Smooth automation, highly configurable, easy scaling, scale out, deployment slots, authentication and networking. So these are some of the benefits that we are getting from PaaS services. And that ends my uh, session. So if you have question, I'll be happy to answer. I think we are already late. This, yeah.
Thank you so much, Rishwan. Do you guys have questions? Okay.
Hello. My question is, what role does DevOps play in app modernization via Azure Cloud, and how can organizations leverage DevOps practices to accelerate their modernization efforts?
Thank you. It's a really nice question. Okay. So DevOps plays not only like a simple role, it has a huge impact in any organization for the application modernization. First thing, um, DevOps will give you option to manage your end-to-end development lifecycle, starting from development, deployment, testing, production. So these all lifecycle you can maintain on the DevOps platform. And we are reducing a lot of repetitive tasks on the DevOps with the use of DevOps. Like we can include our build pipelines, which means like whenever any of the development, let's say we have a 5 developers. Now they are writing code together. So if anyone commit the code, it will make sure that the code is correct and build it correctly. Even we can scan the features like is he using any packages, those are not compliant. So those things we can bring into the build automation. With that, we can automatically publish those build solution into different environments like QA, UAT, production environment at the same approach. So once the QAT is passed, it will automatically publish those code into the production. So these are the automation we can do. And this is a one-time job. Once it is set up, there is no use of engineer to check those on. Once the developer write the code and commit it, it will do rest of the job automatically. So this is how this approach works, and this will save huge time for any organization. Even it saves errors, because we human beings are always prone to error. If I have to deploy something manually, there is high chance I will miss some steps. But when we automate with the DevOps, it will take care of that. I hope I answer your question. Thank you.
Hello. Ayun. Say you're pushing for app modernization in startup companies. So, we're leveraging. How do we ensure that we can leverage it and say it's cost effective when the right service is chosen? So, what can you recommend startup companies to avail, given that they are startup? They are startups.
Okay, thank you for your question. So when we say app modernization and cost, so we need to think of ROI, return of investment. So if you see the ROI within few months, it's difficult to evaluate the cost, because your maintenance cost for the legacy application is too high. It is not like for few months. It will go years and years, years and years likewise. So cost is really high. Now, if you see the cloud, you are reducing those maintenance cost, those server cost, those license cost. So if you see the ROI after few years, like 3 years, 5 years, so you can plan your ROI. Based on ROI, you can provision the Azure services and you can compare the cost. That's how it is. Yeah. Thank you.
Hello. Um, so earlier, you stated the advantages of adopting PaaS, and now my question is the opposite of it. What are some common challenges that organization faced when they are adopting PAS, and how can they overcome it?
Okay. So challenges with the past service I shared in the very second slide. First thing is like organization has several legacy application. So all those legacy you cannot just turn overnight. It takes time to move all those legacy application into the modern platform. So one is time. Another one is the cost involvement. So initial cost is seems to be high because they need to invest those on migration, modernization, even sometime re-engineering. So this cost is there. And another thing is IT budget. Most of the organization, they allocate less budget for IT, which is also one reason modernization is getting delayed. Another one is QA. Those applications are already running. If we move to past service or modern approach, you need to retest those applications. You need to do again quality assurance. So there is high chance like there might be some features not working. You need to redevelop. So these are some challenges that with the past service organization are reluctant to go for it.
Sige muna. Sige ka naman. One last. One last.
Hello. So I was curious about the DevOps earlier. So can Azure DevOps help automate the testing and quality assurance processes for our applications? If so, what testing frameworks and tools does it support?
Okay, Azure's come with several tools and technologies for the QA. Even you can do QA automations, you can write manual test. So all these features are already there. Actually, this development cycle is development has one area, and UAT has one area. Means sorry, QA has one area. Within that QA, it gives you the entire platform, not only for some technologies, for all the technologies. So you have all the tools like test automation. Even Selenium is one tool you can automate testing. So all these testing tools you can bring into DevOps. I hope I answered your question. Yes. Thank you.
Um, what are the tools that you and your team utilize on assessing legacy?
Can you use the mic, sir?
I, I,
Hello. What are the tools and what are the tools that your team and you utilize in assessing legacy application for migrating to PaaS?
That's a good question, actually. We follow a framework, app modernization framework. It is already shared by Microsoft, the guidelines. So there, what we do is do the envisioning, like we try to find out your legacy applications. Then we need to do assessment on top of it. Okay. Let's say you have a 10 applications that you are planning to modernize. So all those 10 applications will not follow a single approach. The approach will be different, for which we need to do an assessment on those applications. Based on the assessment, we need to sometime do the POC as well, so that you have already proof of concept. It will work when we go for migration. So let's say among these 10 applications, few can lift and shift. You can choose the approach. Few you need to do architectural change, and maybe there can be some applications you need to do re-engineering. So we have to assist each applications, and based on that, we share the report. Okay, these are the approaches you can go for modernization. Thank you.
Last one.
Okay.
So,
You've talked about a lot of ano po. What are the security operations Azure practice? Do they use token-based certification, multi-factor application, or cryptography? What are the practices?
Okay. About the security analyst
Okay.
guy, but I have a good. hero here. Let me. These are my colleagues actually.
Oh.
So he's a cloud architect manager for cloud infrastructure manager. He can give you a lot about the security.
Okay
Yes.
po. Should I? Oh.
That's a hard question. Ah. Yeah, for the cryptography, depends actually. For the key vault, there is I think the highest is already um, for AES 256 bit, but there's a hash code for it, like 284 and or 4094, something like that. So Microsoft keeps on using the latest when it comes to the latest security functionalities. Because if we're looking at security, it depends on what services are we looking at. Like for example, email security, identity and access management, web application firewall for web applications. So we need to identify which layer are we talking about because they have their own unique sets of capabilities. So if you're talking about, let's just say, for example, like you need to add a code wherein there is like a username and password related to connection strings, for example. So one way that we could encrypt that is to use what we call the Azure Key Vault. A key vault wherein instead of you exposing the credentials on your web application, Azure Key Vault will do that for you. So
Do you use symmetric or asymmetric key?
it depends. But I think I'm not so sure for Azure Key Vault. It probably it's using symmetric
Symmetric. Okay.
both ways. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Luis, for supporting me. So yes, the one he said, most of the time, if you see the applications, we use username and password, sometime connection string in the application itself, which is very vulnerable. So Azure Key Vault is one of the service that we can use, which Key Vault will take care of your all the connection strings, username and password. We are going to call that service to use those connections.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I think all are done. No more questions. Okay. So you can follow me on reset.com. This is my website where I have write several articles on these services, modernization, also code solution. Mostly I'm a coder, so I have write several things about code. So you can find that one. Even I have a YouTube. You can visit my YouTube to learn more about these services, how to use it likewise. And that's it. You can follow me. Like if you have any further questions or something, you can contact me through LinkedIn. Thank you.
Let's give him a warm round of applause. Thank you, Jinjuan. Actually, that's it, guys. Thank you so much to our speakers, our attendees, and of course our sponsors. I hope you learned something amazing today and use that to build something on your own, like be it for school or for work or even for fun. So yeah, if you enjoyed the event, if you're interested to join Azure User Group Manila, just let us know in Facebook. We have a group there, and you could message us anytime. So yeah, I hope we could see you on the next event. Thank you so much.
Ano nagsasagot? Sir Rijuan, I followed you on LinkedIn.
Thank you.